So I'm not sure if you've heard, but there's been a really big movie that's released recently. It's about something called, I don't know, like Mario, I think. It seems like it's getting a lot of money, and people are really liking it, and the critics don't like it. So, I just had to check it out like once or twice or thrice. Just a few amount of times just to really see if I enjoyed it. And I just want to talk about it now, because, man, this seems like the movie for me, man. I don't know. These critics, they have some good points, I'm not gonna lie. Not every critic is horrible, but at the same time, not every critic is great, right? They make some good points, some of them make some, like, terrible, awful points, but listen, this is mostly for people who enjoy Super Mario, right? So, if you don't like Super Mario that much, you're probably gonna go into this movie not knowing what anything is. Like, why are the blocks floating? Why do the mushrooms make you big? Why is Mario a cat now? Things like that. So, right, if you don't know Mario, you're gonna be scratching your head during this movie, and you're gonna be like, okay, wow, that was lame, right? And there's really not that much plot. It's Mario, so there's not much plot, right? But the thing is, usually that's because of the gameplay, right? They want you to have no story so that the gameplay is focused on more. But here, it's like, the story is basically all that a movie's about, right? So, like, mainly the big issue here is the pacing of the movie, right? The movie is super duper fast. Like, they go through all these scenes, they don't really flesh them out that much, right? So I think if they put a few more minutes into each scene, like not all the scenes, just like mostly the scenes where the characters are getting to know each other. Cause like in this movie, these characters, they become friends right away, right? Like, it makes sense though. We've seen these characters before for all these years, 30, 40 years, all together, being friends. It makes sense why they'd want to get to that right away. But in this case, it's just a little odd, But I don't really care though, because this movie is awesome. This movie is so good. It's made for someone like me, alright? I really love this movie so much. Like, critically, it's like a 7 out of 10, I guess. Maybe 6, I don't know. But in my mind, it's like a 9 out of 10, maybe 10 out of 10, I don't know. It's so good, it's so fun. It's like, I'm a Mario fan, so of course I'm gonna love it, right? That's what this movie's made for. This movie is made by Mario fans, and it's for people like us, right? There's so much good stuff, so many Easter eggs, of course, references, all that sort of stuff. Not even just to Mario, to other games too. Nintendo games. But, yeah, the music, dude, the music is so good. There's some nice music here, some nice musical numbers even, you know what it is. There's of course licensed music, cause why not? Like, Illumination's gonna put that music in cause they have to, right? Everyone wasn't expecting it. Ever since the trailers came out, they're like, oh, they're not using licensed music, They're not playing Wake Up in the Morning feeling like P. Diddy, right? But in this case, they did put some, and at points it feels kind of out of place, like... Once you hear these songs, you're like, what the hell? What is this doing here? Like, there's no reason for this to be here. But other points, I honestly think the licensed songs aren't that bad, Like, sure, it might be a little bit weird to hear it in a Mario movie, but I think some of the uses they have for them are not that bad, honestly. And it sometimes enhances a scene, it makes it more funny, but... not all of them though, because like clearly there's some songs where it's like, okay, why are you playing this right now? Like, there's no reason to be playing this. You're just playing it because there's more licensed music you can put here, right? So yeah, I thought was a little odd. I love the characters, dude. I love these characters so much. Their characterization, the voice acting, the animation, they're so expressive. The voices are good, all right? All around the board, they're good. Chris Pratt. Everyone hated him. Everyone thought he was gonna suck. I mean, the trailers made it seem like he was gonna suck. They used the worst voice lines in those trailers. It was like, you can't blame people for thinking it was gonna be like mediocre, right? Because like they used just the worst voice lines for Chris. Like, whoever edited those trailers, they hated him. I always felt like he had a chance, you know. He was gonna be good. Like, sure, I've joked about him, of course, a lot, right? But it's funny, though, because his voice in the movie is actually great, I think. I mean, he has the Brooklyn accent. There's a few lines where it's like, damn, okay, that's coming out of Chris Pratt? Wow, okay. Of course, the other characters are cool, too. Like, Charlie Day as Luigi. Brilliant. I mean, you gotta love him, right? Jack Black as Bowser, you know, the best character, right? Everyone knows that. The villain's always the best character in these video game movies, right? Peach, Anya Taylor-Joy, she did pretty good. You sounded like the average, you know, animated movie female voice, but, you know, it works in this case. Oh yeah, Keegan-Michael Key as Toad, love it. He's like, other than Jack Black in the main cast, he's like the only other one who's doing like a huge impression. Like, you can't really even tell that's him. And it's a really fun voice, but, you know, in the movie, he doesn't really do that much. Like, I thought he'd have more scenes, honestly. But, you know, he was really sidelined. He was more like a plot device at the end, but, you know, it's still a fun voice. And, of course, Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong. Like, come on. The weed smoker himself, like, his voice fits a big dumb ape. Like, are you serious? I thought he was pretty fun in the movie, especially his rivalry with Mario. Like, they don't really become friends at the end of the movie. Like, maybe at the very end, but like throughout the whole movie, they're like calling each other losers and names and making fun of them. So I thought that was a really fun dynamic, you know. It's kind of like Sonic and Knuckles in the Sonic movies, like, except they don't really make up like Sonic and Knuckles do immediately. And in fact, there's a scene in this movie that's exactly like a scene from the Sonic movie too, with Mario and DK and Sonic and Knuckles, right? If you've seen the movies, you know what I'm talking about. There's like a scene that's like exactly the same. Like, the same premise. I thought that was really funny. And yeah, so they share a few similarities, of course, right? You could say one movie, the Sonic movies or the Mario movies, of course you're gonna compare them, right? People have done that for years. Whichever one you like more really depends on what you're looking for in a movie, right? With the Sonic movies, they might not be that game accurate, but I think the writing there and the pacing is a little bit better than what we got in the Mario movie. Like, the Mario movie is awesome, right? It has so many references, it's so faithful. It looks exactly like the games, right? But the writing is, I like the writing, the jokes are funny, but the pacing is really, really fast. Like, if you don't really know these characters, this world, these designs, you're not really gonna get too much out of this, I think. Because you're gonna be left confused about what's going on, right? So, I think the Sonic movies are better at explaining things in a grounded reality, but that's also because of the fact they're in live action, you know. This one's fully animated, it looks beautiful. Illumination's always had great animation, so it's not that surprising to me, but, you know, it really looks good here. They should make more fantasy movies instead of movies taking place in New York or whatever. But, yeah. Speaking of New York, they got Brooklyn in here, and it's pretty freaking cool what happens in Brooklyn. Like, I'm not gonna really spoil things here, but you get to see some unexpected characters that you never thought you'd see, alright? They're really cool looking, they're really well designed, and, you know, just everyone in Brooklyn pretty much looks like they're, like, from the Mario universe, you know? They don't look too out of place next to Mario and Luigi. So, I thought those designs were really well made, and there's so much I love about this movie, of course. As a Mario fan, there's some crazy things that happen in this movie, like things I never would have expected to see, things I would have never expected to hear. There's a song from like 2 years ago in this game, a game that came out like 2 years ago. It's in this movie, and I was not expecting that. I think that was my most surprised moment in the theater. I was like, what the hell am I hearing? That was so cool. There's some cameos, of course. There's little callbacks, you know. There's references to lore in this movie that I didn't even know I'd hear. Like, man, it's really cool to see this movie like answer a few questions that we've had about what really happens in this universe. This universe where they don't really explain too much about it, right? They just intentionally leave everything blank. So actually getting a few questions answered is pretty cool, right? I think my favorite part of the movie has got to be the DK arena battle with Mario. Cause like, there's so many cool things that happen there. First of all, minor spoiler here, but they do use the DK rap and it's so cool. Like, I feel like that's gonna go over most audiences' head. Like, no one really knows what the DK rap is except if you're on the internet, you know? That was super cool, and, you know, just the whole fight against DK, like how they're beating the hell out of each other. Mostly DK against Mario. You know, they use a few power-ups. It's really cool, and it's just really fun to see that type of action. Like, the whole movie is just action-packed, right? It's a popcorn type flick, you know, like a Marvel movie, I guess. But like, it's just so fun to see this platforming, you know, this action. Really feels like a video game in a movie fashion, you know. It gives you the same joy as like seeing a Let's Play, you know. You're not playing the game, but you're watching it. Except, way better, of course, because it's a movie, you know. It's on a cinematic scale. It's just a lot of fun to watch, you know. And that's really all a Mario movie has to be, right? I think it just has to be fun. And that's exactly what this movie is. But, like, of course, there could be some better pacing, you know. There could be some better character bonding moments. Because, as I said before, like, everyone's just friends immediately, you know. There's no really introductions or exposition, so I thought that was a little odd, but as a movie itself, a Mario movie, it's fun, it's awesome, it's beautiful, it's super duper cool. I love it, of course. It's a 10 out of 10. Just kidding, it's a 9 out of 10. But it's so good, of course. You know me, the Mario fan, of course I'm gonna love it. And I think that's really all I have to say, you know. There's tons of stuff. I don't want to spoil you on whatever happens in this movie. This movie is great when you go in blind. That's what I did. I tried to avoid spoilers, and I did, for the most part, you know. I didn't get spoiled that end credits scene, you know, the post credits. And I'm not gonna spoil it here, of course, but you know, it wasn't really what I was expecting, that end credits, but maybe I set up my expectations a little bit too high. So, I mean, especially for what they show off in the movie itself. It's like, really? Is this the post-credits? Like, really? But I guess that'll have a bigger part in the next movie, so I guess it kind of makes sense in that regard. But yeah, that's really it. I really like the Mario movie, and I suggest you check it out if you haven't, of course. If you're on this channel, you're probably a Mario fan, so you've probably checked it out at this point. So, yeah, see ya.